Welcome, everyone. We're right on 12 o'clock, so we're, as usual, just going to give everyone a couple of minutes to join. So please be patient, and thanks for being here. Actually, very good numbers in the room. Welcome to everyone who's just joined. We are going to wait a minute or two, although I see lots of people flooding in, which is great to see. In the meantime, while we're waiting for everyone, I was thinking about whether I was actually going to say this or not, but a couple of you have read.ai, and we've seen that it's one of the AI meeting recording systems which actually, in the T's and C's, says that they're going to use your data. So please be careful. We only know this because we tried it ourselves. We've made this mistake literally ourselves, and just a heads up, I think a couple of you are using it, and it's potentially gonna, doing something with your data that you may or may not be aware of. We know, for instance, that people that have been in meetings with read.ai are getting emails where they haven't given permission, haven't opted in. We're at 40 people, which for me is a trigger to get started. Thank you, everyone who's joined and taken time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. We really appreciate it. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Colin. I'm one of the directors of Turrito, and for today, I'm the host. For those of you who don't know, these Bytes and Bites sessions are something that we do at least once a month. We get lots of requests to do them more frequently because they're so popular. But the idea is that they're short and sweet, and they're in the middle of the day. By now, you probably also have or hopefully you have an Uber Eats meal. But the idea is that it's over lunchtime. It shouldn't take time out of your busy schedule. And in addition to that, lunch is on us. So obviously pre-COVID, it would have been nice if we'd all sat down at a lunch, but this is actually turning into a very successful event, and people are loving it because it's so convenient and so easy, and you don't need to sit in traffic, and lunch is on us. So one thing I'd love you guys to do, two things actually. One is, if you've got questions during this session, write them down. You can put them in the chat, or we'll give you an opportunity at the end to ask those questions. The second thing is, if you've got recommendations for future events, please write those down as well and share them with us. I think we've got bookings we've got events planned until next year already, but we're always looking for new ones. So any suggestions you've got would be fantastic. Without further ado, let's get into it. Today we have got Sendmarc with us. We've got Duane from Sendmarc, and he's going to chat to us about DMARC and the various protocols and systems that make your email more secure. As with all of our Bytes and Bites sessions, this is meant to be informative. A lot of people in the room are IT managers, CIOs, CTOs, a lot of technical people. A bunch of the stuff you're going to see today, you can do yourself. We're not trying to dissuade you from that. We've brought Sendmarc in because this is all they do. They eat, breathe, sleep email security, and they're experts in the field. We've been working with them for a long time and can vouch for that. And they've got, a unique way of approaching this issue, which, by the way, is a global issue, and it's a huge issue. It's a massive, massive, massive issue around email security. Everyone knows that it's the number one way that threats are getting in, and it's the preferred vector for bad actors nowadays. It's the easiest to use. So definitely something you want to pay attention to, and Sendmarc, in our opinion, is the best at it. So without further ado, Duane.
Thank you, Colin. So I just want to start off with who said there was no such thing as a free lunch, right? Turrito writing the rule book on that. So yeah, guys, thanks for joining us. I know midday, it's month end. We're coming up to the end of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is my favorite month of all time. And we thought, what better way to kind of, further inform the market about something as seemingly simple as DMARC, and I think Colin hits the nail on the head when he speaks about this massive issue, and the issue is large. There's 350 million domains registered in the world, and about 3% of those have a DMARC record. 4% of those are at reject. So the problem is wild, and I hope that the information we share with you elicits some questions. Feel free to test assumptions, challenge thinking. Feel free to call me out every time I say gnarly. I'm from Cape Town, surf, so unfortunately you're going to have to deal with that today. But yeah, I hope that you find the information informative, and hope that you engage and have any questions we can address those on. So what I want to start with is kind of what Colin mentioned about this idea of a massive issue, right? And the massive issue stems from something that was previously more explosive, which is email, right? I don't think there's anyone on this call that's using an alternative solution to professional or personal collaboration outside of email. If you are, very well done to you. But for 99.9% of the world, email has become a cornerstone and a foundation in the way that businesses communicate. And what you'll see on the screen here is nothing new to everybody. So please don't think I'm chasing ambulances. What I'm talking about here is that these things are typically really well covered by solutions that came out in the last couple decades. You've got your secure email gateways. You've got things that are protecting you from various ways, taking information from those gateways and then plugging them into your edge, right? Into your network, into your endpoints, etc. So all these things are harmoniously communicating with each other, trying to protect the various endpoints, not endpoints, endpoints for threat actors. But one of the biggest things that hackers and threat actors are very good at is identifying the next big thing, right? So if secure email gateways have come out and protected a lot of businesses from phishing and ransomware, which everybody sees on the headlines all day, what's the next step, right? How do I get into my target? Who do I approach? How do I profile and use social engineering to identify who that person is and what they do, their communication patterns, etc. And this obviously gave rise to, DMARC being leveraged from a threat actor's perspective, because this is something that was commonly overlooked for the last 15 years. It's definitely gotten better. The scale is exploding more year on year, and Comms and I have the data available to us that speak specifically to the information. Hundreds of thousands of domains going on DMARC reporting every month. Very few moving to the quarantine and reject phase, which I hope the presentation is going to show. But the reality is that this is being leveraged and taken advantage of more often than we care to consider. And it is something that I hope we share enough information of to start thinking about. So I want to talk about this idea of partial protection, right? So if you look at any enterprise level infrastructure team, IT operations team, SecOps, etc., customers generally have a pretty good hold and grip on what they're doing, right? There's very few companies in South Africa that we speak to that don't have a secure email gateway, that haven't got endpoint, that haven't got a firewall, that haven't got the kind of the breadcrumbs of what a good solid infrastructure or cybersecurity structure looks like, right? But this idea of partial protection is what I like to call that last mile protection. It's those few missing things that either are overlooked because of the larger threat and attack surface, which is email and all the other things that people are attacking you on. But there's these partial things that give you this big +1 effect when done well and delivered correctly, that really enables a further layer of security. And the reality is that with this big thing that's so very obviously overlooked, the threat surface is huge, right? I mean, we're talking in the hundreds of millions of domains with no DMARC record, very simple to spoof, create an SMTP server in a different country for dollars, if that, and start sending mail out. And these are the things that they're typically looking to target with those spoofs, right? They're looking to spoof an executive, to send an email from a CEO to Colin and say, do this important thing. They're looking to degrade delivery. They're looking to do invoice fraud. They're looking to do these things. We know this. But there's another problem that this also brings in, which is they're looking to just derail the conservativeness of how your brand operates from a domain perspective, right? How you send mail, how you receive mail, how you are protecting yourself from said impersonation. And this becomes really, really, really important and I hope we talk about, I hope it's obvious in the slides to come. So one of the things that most of you would have seen over the last couple of months, and I think will extend into a lot of the future, is this idea that these large, whether it be freemium or the premium offerings like Microsoft, guys are starting to clamp down on the problem because the scale is just so vast, right? If I could give you numbers, I would, but I mean, we are stopping hundreds of millions of dangerous emails over our customer base each month. And that's the scale at which the protected customers are not seeing these threats. Imagine the unprotected scale, right? It's in the trillions of emails being sent on your behalf or on unprotected domains behalf each month. And what's happening, what I like about the movement of the market is that guys are starting to crack down on this, right? And I've got some use cases that I'll share with you as we go along. But Google and Yahoo had a joint kind of a launch. I think they were weeks apart where they said, we are going to start cranking down on bulk senders, right? If you send more than 5,000 emails to one of our services in a single day, we will begin blacklisting and rejecting your email. In the beginning, they danced around it. They said you might go to quarantine, spam, junk. Microsoft came out and said, point out, we're rejecting it. And then Google and Yahoo followed. And the ramifications of this for any business are large. Okay, then there's a couple of things to consider here. The first is my emails potentially will not reach my customers. So the first thing is that if emails aren't reaching your customers, business operations are impacted. And I'll touch on this in the persona slide. But the fact that these larger email providers are doing it, the fact that Australia in the financial sector has legislated that P equals reject is a minimum. The fact that the European Union has created a lot more framework around DMARC or a lot more around acceptability of liability. You know, if I receive a mail from Sendmarc.com and I do something that puts me in jeopardy, whose responsibility is that? The EU is saying it's your responsibility. It's your domain. You own it. Therefore, you should have taken responsibility. And they're putting the ball firmly back into the owner of the domain. Now, the domain estate at some organizations are 1, 2 domains. Some of our customers have hundreds of domains. So when they launch a new service, all 100 domains, their DNS needs to be updated. Imagine the scale of that issue. Customers that we deal with are IT folk, they're CIOs, they're directors of IT, they are telephony people, connectivity people. My Facebook doesn't work at lunchtime people, right? These are the breadth of their scope is huge. The last thing they want to do is putter around DNS to make some changes, right? And that's where a really slick implementation comes in. And segueing to that, I think Colin made a great point, right? There are absolutely ways you can do DMARC, lots of ways. The first is by yourself, right? Generating a DMARC record and putting it into your DNS if you've got access is not a difficult process, right? Creating an aggregate reporting address, creating a failure report address. These are not things that are rocket science, and GPT will teach you how to do it fairly painlessly. The problem is the scale, right? So imagine your business as you sit here today. If you're 100 users, 500 users, 10,000 users, and work on 20 emails per user per day, and then scale that out to 22 business days. That's the volume of email your business currently sends out every single day. If each one of those recipients forward that mail, the XML report that each of those emails generates is doubled. So the volume of XML reports that a human can read will become virtually limitless. And unless you've built some form of proprietary software to read through the If you've seen what a private or a public key looks like, XML report looks largely similar to that. So it's very difficult to decipher any pattern recognition. So what we typically see here as the Achilles heel of DIY is that, yes, I've now got some visibility. I've got my DMARC record, and I might not be rejected as often because I've got that record in place. But I don't know if other people are sending mail on my behalf. I've got no threat intelligence. I've got nothing else to see. And that's kind of where it stops, right? They don't move to quarantine. They don't really move to reject, because they could legitimately reject their own real mail because they don't know. And this is where the rubber unfortunately never ever hits the road. The second option is to use, and I hate the word cheap or free tooling here, but that's calling a spade a spade. It is what it is, right? But Duane, there's vendors that can do this for $5. Absolutely, there are. The problem is that if there's no real fee, there's no priority. I've trademarked that, so please don't use that without my permission. But the problem there is that $5 seemingly, great, I can do this. But what happens then is a loss of resource and foundation and structure. And, oh, Colin, you're asking for the next iteration of your implementation. Can you just follow these 16 knowledge base articles? That's a problem, right? Again, I'm talking about people that are already stretched thin in an IT, a security team that is already overbearingly doing other things to keep the network safe, right? And now you're asking me to go into this DNS tool, double check this one, not make any clerical errors, and get it right the first time. What if you've got 16 domains? Now you've got to do that work 16 times. So this also becomes a very big Achilles heel. And typically we see customers stick at P equals none for months in the future, but still pay that kind of nominal charge. The last function of doing this in a multiple way of deployment is to use it as an add-on feature to your SEG. Many SEGs offer DMARC as an add-on, and that's great, okay? But Colin made a great point earlier. This is literally what we live. It's what we eat, it's what we breathe, and it's how we sleep. It's the core function of our value to the market. And when it's not a core function, and you look at a SEG or a gateway company, their core function is to provide a gateway to their customers, right? That's where the innovation is packed in. That's what's protecting you using AI and NLP on the gateway, making sure ransomware and phishing attacks aren't coming into your business. So you've got to ask the question, how much innovation is going on to your periphery, right? What are you doing for that product? Our innovation sprints every 3 weeks, that's all we do, right? So our foundation is built into DMARC. We don't have any sideline businesses that we can add on for free. So you've got to start understanding that you can do it these 3 ways, and you might evaluate 2 or 3 products. But when evaluating, ask the right questions. Is this a knowledge-based fed implementation? How does this work if I add a new service? Do you guarantee getting us to the point of reject? All these things come into play when evaluating a vendor, of which there are many, but just making sure that you're asking the right questions and putting the vendor that's presenting to you with the right information really will make your evaluation process a lot simpler.
Can I jump in quickly, Duane?
Absolutely.
To use a real world or practical example is when we first started working with Sendmarc 5 years ago, they start by doing a report of who's sending mail on your behalf, literally who's sending mail with your domains. And we have, like Duane's example, we've got quite a few. But being an IT company, we thought we had this sorted. And the report said that we were sending mail from China, from Czechoslovakia, from Switzerland, from Ireland. And some of them we immediately knew, okay, Ireland, that's Microsoft. A couple of them were easy, but we were like, the other ones, it must be someone, and it's like big volumes of mail. Someone is using our domains, and this is fraud, and like God knows what's happening with the Turrito.com domain or the CloudGate domain. And so we started clamping down, and hey presto, a whole bunch of our mails started bouncing. It turns out we were using products like a signature product that was based in Czechoslovakia. We were using a CRM system which had a mirror in China. So unbeknownst to us, and again, we're an IT company, we thought we knew what was going on. We thought we knew where our mails were coming from. We had absolutely no idea. And when I say I've given you a handful of countries, there was like a gigantic list. and a whole bunch of them Sendmarc marked for us in red, and it gave us a proper fright. We set things to reject, and it brought our business to its knees because we panicked. We weren't really using the Sendmarc team properly. We thought we could do it ourselves. I think half of our mails stopped working within a minute. So first of all, you're going to be surprised at how many people are using your domain legitimately, and second of all, if you do this the wrong way, it can kill you. Lots and lots of tickets not getting responded to in our case. Marketing mails not going out, etc., etc. Sorry, Duane.
No, please don't be sorry. Like that's wonderful. So, well, not wonderful, but you get my point. So, and I think it comes down to the reality that you don't know what you don't know, right? And again, I'm not here to monger fear. Like it is what it is, right? But a lot of companies just don't have the bandwidth to do this again because our teams, our security, this forum of people. We are typically and this is a great slide for that, is we security leaders, right? I just don't want anyone to weaponize my domain and do bad things with it. I don't want them to send emails on behalf of me to myself or to my business and ask my team to do stuff. I don't want them, especially not to send it to my customer and get them to do stuff, right? And it's gonna raise awkward questions, right? So which is, well, I paid R1 million invoice to Turrito, so do I still owe you the money, or do you pay me? Like, how do I still get my services, right? And it's avoided by something as simple as DMARC. So I know that from a security perspective, you guys get this. Like, but what I think is important is don't do this. Like there are professionals that can do this and take the burden of the configuration off your hands. The second thing that Colin points out, which I think is phenomenal in terms of DMARC, and this is not Sendmarc, this is DMARC in general. DMARC is a globalized configuration, right? It means that once you've told your vendor that this is an authorized sender on my behalf, right, a legitimate spoofer, you tell the rest of the world to accept mail from that server or from that service. Everything else is innately rejected. So unless you form part of my authorized list of senders, no mail server will accept you. And for me, like coming from a SEG background, configurations of secure mail gateways are gnarly, right? I mean, they take sometimes months to perfect, to refine, to get right for the CEO versus everybody else at the company. Where this is, Duane, we send from these 7 authorized senders, everything else reject. Okay, Colin, done. On how many of those domains do you do the same? 16 of them. That's all done. We'll just move that all over. And that burden is quite amazing when you look into the complete ownership of a DMARC implementation. The second one, operational leaders. So here are more your talent acquisition people, your finance people. We've got a use case at a smart city at the moment. One of the municipalities wants to move to a smart city, and they've been sending out 40 to 50,000 utilities bills a month for the last 6 months. And over this period, they've had to hire collection specialists because they're just not getting the payments on time. So they're going, hello, Brian, have you got the invoice for this month's utilities? Brian's going, no, I don't have it. Okay, can you check your spam? And, oh, okay, there it is. Okay, cool, I'll pay it in the next couple of days. That's putting financial pressure on a business, right? Because cash flow is affected there. And that for me is not a good customer experience, right? You want those kinds of things to land in the inbox of your customer. The second is HR, talent acquisition. If anyone's ever been for an interview, one of the worst things in the world is 3 or 4 days after you haven't heard back from this person that you thought you wowed, and you go, okay, well done. And you think to yourself, you've lost it, and you move on to the next one, you accept another job offer, and eventually they phone you back and they go, why haven't you, joined? You were so excited. It's like, oh, I never got your offer. Oh, yeah, your mail might have gotten to your spam. Just not slick, right? And putting that into perspective of the marketing leaders, which is who I love speaking to at businesses. These are the people that are regularly not involved in email and security and all the other things that go on from a infrastructure side, but they are just as impactful when we talk about DMARC. And I think the market from our side, a vendor side, doesn't speak enough to these guys. But from a marketing perspective, and I'll share a couple of use cases in the next couple of slides, but we're busy dealing with a retailer at the moment that is being rejected by Gmail and Yahoo because they don't have their DMARC record, their SPF, and their DKIM in place, right? So I'm a user of this retailer. I haven't received any of their emails in the last 6 months. My wife is, my friends are, and we ran a study. I now ask everybody, just go check, do you have emails from them? And then I asked, do you send emails? Yeah, we send between 15 and 25,000 emails a week with offers. It's geolocated to your card, and it'll tell you exactly which retailer is closest to you. None of those mails are landing in my inbox. So what does that mean from a marketing perspective? Well, it means that it's not efficient and it's not impactful. Duane is not walking into the retailer and spending money. And that for me is a big driver of DMARC, right? Because there's no definitive scientific way I can tell you, if you don't have DMARC in place, this is what will be rejected. But there's a definitive guideline in place that if you do have DMARC in place, you can count on that all your mails are going to land in the inbox, unless someone's blacklisting you personally and they don't want your emails. So that's kind of the segue there, is that these DMARC typically thinks about, this is a security issue, they need to work on it. But there's so many facets of a business that actually touches that there's a lot of champions that you can build here. So 2 use cases before I start wrapping up. So one of the things that we've seen the explosion over the last couple of months in South Africa, maybe the last couple of years, has been the rise of Chinese shipping coming into our country, right? So Temu, Shine, etc. These things are scaling as fast as you can imagine. But the beauty for a threat actor is that, well, let's imagine 40% of us on this call are Temu subscribers. I would argue it's probably a lot more. And we Temu doesn't have any, like, you don't know when you're getting a delivery. You just get a box and you hope that you don't even know what you're going to open anymore because you're purchasing so much. So what threat actors are doing is they're creating a carbon copy of a order, sending it from large logistics businesses that do these deliveries and saying, your order's on its way, click here for a 10% discount on your next Temu order. Just imagine that. Like, that is at scale. If there's 20 million people in South Africa shopping on Temu, and that's going from, one of the largest courier businesses in the country to maybe 5 million of them from a list purchased on the dark web, this is a beautiful threat. Like, it's a wonderful attack, right? So they were really struggling with this because, again, it's not Temu that's at stake here. It's the logistics business. And as Colin mentioned, when we put them on reporting and we showed them, guys, I got goosebumps in the back of my neck. The volumes were in the hundreds of thousands per day. Hundreds of thousands from a single logistics business per day, directly spoofing their mails and sending it to their customer base. That for me is, like, without question, a signal to go, we've got to fix this. Because at some point, this will raise a flag with Temu that there's all this fraud going on, and they might choose a different logistics partner, which is materially going to impact our business operations. The second one, so that's from the security side. The second one is more from the marketing side. So a large financial lender here in Cape Town, we went and visited him, and we asked him, like, he was very keen on DMARC, but the board just wasn't buying into this idea. Like, it seemed like it's like this fugazi thing that it's like, oh, if we can fix it, like, well, let's see. And we said, look, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide, we would like to show you what the data says. So don't take my word for it. Look at the data. If I'm lying to you, jump off reporting and we'll call it a day, and I'll gladly, sort you out after that. And we jumped on, and you'll see the top line here. Their compliance was around 31%. Okay, so what that means is that there was severely degraded delivery. Okay, it means that all the 3 key protocols, DMARC, SPF, and DKIM, were incorrectly configured and badly done on their DNS, which means it was directly impacting their business. So we asked marketing to join the next meeting. Marketing joined, and they sent out, they're a growing business. Well, they were in February of last year. They're very big now. And their focus was on customer acquisition, right? We needed lots of small businesses to take these loans from us. And they just weren't seeing the reciprocal build. They were spending hundreds of thousands of rands on MailChimp, making sure that their marketing was slick. And MailChimp was giving them a 98% delivery report every week when they sent these mails out. My question to the marketing team is, sending and delivering to what? Do they define inbox or quarantine or spam or trash? Because they can't, no one can. And they said, no, it just says delivered. So I'm like, well, there's your issue. If you're sending 100,000 emails, just imagine half of them aren't going to your end users. Imagine 20%. It's 20,000 emails. 1 or 2% could click on those, and 1 or 2% of those could take a loan from you. What does that materially impact your business? And they said it could be this much. I said, well, let's fix this and let's see how the business grows. Now, let's be clear here. They did do a lot of other things from a business growth perspective, but fixing this, I genuinely believe, had a material impact to the way in which their customers and their prospects receive mail and can engage with that business. Okay, so last slide. As you mentioned a lot here, before I show you some screenshots, by the way, sorry. The best way to find out is literally to look at the data, right? So because it's awareness training, Cybersecurity Awareness Month, every year I go on a big drive to ask customers just to take us up on this offer. And we've obviously partnered with Turrito this month to do the same. The analysis of our platform to show you the stuff that I'm talking about, it's painless, it's frictionless, and it gives you your own information to make an informed decision on. So what this looks like is as follows. We generate, or Turrito and us generate you a specific CNAME record that sits into your DNS, and that basically, like a train line, gives us a view of all the XML data that we can then visualize, which I'll show you in the screenshots, as a view of what's going on your domain, right? Who's sending emails? Is it coming from bad actors? Are there things poorly configured? Like, what do I need to do to make this better? And then from then on forward, about 2 weeks later, dependent on the volume that you guys send out, we sit down with you with one of our engineers and we take you through what we see, right? Obviously alongside Turrito. And this is where I think it really makes you quite invested in going, it's either not a problem, it's not a priority, or this is a problem and a priority, and we need to do something about it. And then we can chat about it. But before we do anything, I think this is the best way to figure out, is this something my business is facing a challenge with, or is this something that I think I can live without? And the best way to see that, guys, is to, if you wouldn't mind, it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Asking you to scan a QR code might be a bit gnarly, but I'm going to ask anyway. And what we'd ask you is that if you can quickly just jump onto this website that will redirect you, that it will redirect you to, and check your score. And then there's a poll coming up that'll come. Oh, it's already up. If you could answer the poll and tell, it's all anonymous. So check your score. It's out of 5, 5 being the best, 1 and 0 being meaning no DMARC record. And let's have a look at the data for. I'll give it a minute or two, so we'll finish it at 12:30. You guys definitely keeping me honest here with my gnarly count.
If this is like any other poll, like anyone that gets less than 2 isn't gonna put their score there, so it might be scientifically suspect. But let me jump in again, Duane. Just anecdotally, and I'm sure you guys all have the same, but have many friends that phone me and say my mail's not, reaching a small businesses, a travel business or a catering business are real examples. And they're saying my mails aren't reaching people. I obviously tell them a little bit about DMARC. I say, send me a mail. And nowadays, a lot of you would have seen that message that's popping up that says, Outlook will tell you, we cannot verify the sender. And as soon as you see that, you know that whoever's trying to send you mails is probably, it's going straight to trash or junk mail. And this has been around for ages. Like everyone's, DMARC's been around for ages, but it's just, I think the point about Microsoft and Gmail and all the big boys getting onto the bandwagon is that it's now becoming very topical. Outlook is telling you like this sender is not verified, and that's going to junk mail is not great, but it's also a reputational risk. So if you're trying to be a fantastic catering company and you want to attract new customers, and all of your mails have a header at the top that says this sender cannot be verified, it's not professional. So just to really bring it down into real world examples again, it's happening all the time and it's going to get worse.
Yeah. Okay. 12:34. I said 2 minutes. I think we've recorded a lot of results. So again, guys, I got to make it clear, because this problem is just, it's not the issue is widely while there is massive growth in DMARC adoption, there's a lot of work to do, right? I mean, like a lot of domains remain unprotected and a lot of people just don't know what they don't know. So the results we're seeing here on the poll is nothing foreign to me. Like you haven't done anything wrong. There's nothing going to break today. What we're saying is take an proactive approach, right? It's people are larger. I love what Colin said, the big boys, larger businesses, larger mailbox providers, countries, governments are starting to crack down on this. Cyber insurers are starting to ask for it. So I see this as a preemptive strike in making sure that I'm ahead of that curve. Because once this does start, you're going to get the normal scramble that starts coming out, which is, I need it now. And then it takes a couple of days to get that going, or a couple of months. And then, so that's what we're kind of saying. Guys, I've got 2 more slides and then we'll open up for some Q&A. But basically what I wanted to show you is like what this looks like from a platform perspective, right? So what Colin was talking about earlier is a very easy to understand platform which takes you through at a high level some of the data points that we can provide, right? So who are these senders sending on our behalf? What does that data look like? Am I configured correctly? And it's our job to take you to this nirvana, right? And this is what we guarantee with authorized correctly. The forwarders of my mail are authorized correctly, and everything else is point blank rejected to the open world. And having that advantage makes, for me, having sold SSL certificates, gateways, awareness training, and now DMARC, we always, in cybersecurity, always speak about the 99.9%. And I don't like 99.9%. I like 100%. If your domain is at P equals reject with DMARC, well implemented, and everything is aligned from an SPF, DKIM, and a DMARC perspective, it is impossible for someone to send a mail on your behalf unless they walk into your office, open up Colin's laptop, and send a mail from his laptop. There's no other way humanly possible that someone can do it. So for me, the 100% guarantee is really, really powerful, not just from an us perspective, but from a DMARC perspective. And that's what makes this really, really important. I'm not going to say anything else. I think 37 minutes is perfect for you guys to go and enjoy your lunch. But if there is any questions, I'm very happy to take any. If you want to use the chat, if you don't want to go unmute, that's also fine. But we'll stick around a bit for some Q&A if there are any. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Duane. Great presentation and really appreciate it. And like you said, we're also cognizant of time. We deliberately keep these sessions short and sweet so it doesn't mess with your day. I mean, we're all in IT and constantly under pressure. So feel free to jump off if you've gotten what you need. If you haven't, you can email us, you can type it in the chat, or you can unmute and ask a question. But we'll probably finish in the next couple of minutes. Looks like you covered everything, Duane.
Totally. Can't stop myself from speaking.
Hashtag nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the only things I would implore is that if you guys reach out to Turrito, I mean, we'd be more than willing to do the domain analysis for you. Go and check it out. Jump on our platform, dig around in the data for a couple of weeks, and see if this is something worth looking at as a priority. Alternatively, shoot them a note if you've got any questions, and I'm sure the team will reach out to our team to help. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks again, and thanks for everyone who attended. We really appreciate it, and like I said, we look forward to seeing you in other sessions. And if you've got ideas, throw them our way. Maybe one of our next sessions can be something that's really top of mind for you, and hopefully we can educate and inform. Thank you, everyone. Have an awesome Thursday.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.